Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Remember to like and subscribe and vote in the poll to be more well-armed next time you play. Maybe. Today we're building Yang from RWBY, the big sister with the big punches and the big proponent of universal basic income, which can help keep a country's economy fluid even in times of unpredictable disaster. Oh shoot, I think I screwed up who I was researching for this build.
You like jazz?
Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, we need to punch good. If you're sick of monks or unarmed fighting, why do you keep voting for characters whose whole goal is punching? Like Tifa, Doomsday, and this one, we're all poll winners. Good thing nobody will vote for a character with exploding fist gloves on this week's poll. Speaking of, we need exploding gloves, so some sort of extra oomph on our punches, ideally a flammable oomph. Finally, we'll get some extra mobility so we can blast ourselves all around the battlefield. For stats, we'll be using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just make sure you're keeping multi-classing minimums in mind. There's quite a few of them here. 3 stats to be specific, starting with strength. Punching hard doesn't technically require it, but a hot dog doesn't technically require ketchup, if that makes sense. Dexterity is next. If you want to punch fast, this is going to be important. Fun fact, if you punch twice as fast and twice as hard, you're dealing a bunch more damage. I'm not great with math. Follow that up with Constitution, no spoilers, but you take a lot of pain. Also, no guarantee on that no spoilers thing sticking around. I'll just go off on a limb here and say I'm going to lack the self-control. Wisdom needs to be 13 for multi-classing, but we can get it there with racial bonuses, so it doesn't need to be that high. Charisma is a bit low. You're likable enough, we just don't need it, and we're gonna dump intelligence. You're kind of the jock of the group. Yang is a human, but she could be a goblin because she can be anything. If you want to change up these builds, do it. Nobody has a gun to your head. Variant humans get a feat. We don't need a ton of them, so grab the athlete feat for +1 strength, climbing speed equal to your normal running speed, and you can stand up from prone with 5 feet of movement speed and jump with 5 feet of run up instead of 10 for a little boom jumpy thing. Bump your Constitution and your Wisdom with your 2 free points. Take Persuasion as your skill of choice and the Soldier background for Athletics and Intimidation. I know you're a student, but you're a student of war, just not in the Battle Master Fighter way, even though you could get Calligraphy. Sad day. Kick things off as a monk, we're punching. What did you expect? First level monks get 2 skills from the monk list. Acrobatics and Insight are nice skills for complicated worlds. You get martial arts, letting you make an unarmed attack as a bonus action after you attack with an unarmed attack or a monk weapon. Monk weapons aren't really for you though. They could be, but punching is good enough. Your unarmed attacks deal 1d4 bludgeoning damage, and you can use your dexterity modifier for those if you want, though strongs are perfectly valid. That's a strength-based monk for those who are unfamiliar. You also get unarmored defense, making your AC 10 plus your dexterity and wisdom modifier. Since you can't wear armor and martial art at the same time, this isn't too bad. Though we'll get something a little more handy in a second. No spoilers. Second level monks give you another reason to keep it light with unarmored movement, making you faster when you're not weighed down by expensive armor that could cost you an arm and a leg. You also get key points, letting you do cool girl stuff like Step of the Wind, letting you dash or disengage as a bonus action with a double jump distance for another boomy boost. Flurry of Blows lets you make 2 unarmed attacks as a bonus action instead of 1, something you'd probably love to do. And Patient Defense lets you dodge as a bonus action if you want to play defensively, so probably not your thing, honestly. Third level monks can deflect missiles, letting you reduce the damage of ranged attacks by 1d10, plus your monk level and dexterity modifier as a reaction. If you drop that damage to 0, you can yeet it back as a monk weapon. You get to choose an elemental discipline here, and let's talk about Sun Soul Monk. Sun Soul monks shoot lasers out of their hands. That's a ranged attack, not a melee one, meaning if you wanted to make that attack against someone right next to you, you'd have disadvantage. So let's say you wanted to play a character who channeled light into their punches with some sort of ham-on technique. Sun Soul would be very bad for that because you'd have disadvantage on the attacks against people right next to you, which is why we're not using the Sun Soul for Yang either, because those Ember Silica thing, I don't know what's the plural for that. They're pretty good up close. 4 Elements Monk will actually be pretty good at this, as it'll give you an elemental discipline like Fangs of the Fire Snake. This lets you spend a key point to make your unarmed attacks deal fire damage and extend the range out to 10 feet, which doesn't mean it's not a melee attack, it's just a melee attack that's ranged, if that makes sense. You can also spend another key point on your punch to add a d10 of fire damage to it if you want a bigger boom, and since this only changes the damage type, you can still use your strength modifier for it, which will become more important in a bit. No spoilers. I don't want the army of RWBY fans coming after me. 4th level monks get an ability score improvement. We're going to invest in strength rather than the defensive options. Technically, if you beat something to death, it can't hurt you. That's basically defense. You also get slow fall, letting you reduce falling damage by 5 times your monk level as a reaction. Shoot some shots at the ground to keep yourself from breaking your legs. It would seriously stink if something happened to one of your limbs. 5th level monks get an extra attack, letting you make 2 attacks instead of 1 or 3 attacks with your martial arts attack, 4 attacks with a flurry of blows. But more like flurry of blowing them up. Am I right, folks? Speaking of a concussive blast, Stunning Strike lets you force a Constitution saving throw of 8 plus your proficiency bonus and wisdom modifier on a creature you hit with a melee attack. Failing that, they're stunned until the end of your next turn, which basically gives you advantage on all those attacks. If only we had something that made crits better. No spoilers though. That would be alarming. Your martial arts die also bumps up to a D6. I think that's enough monkey business for now. Let's work on getting a semblance of our semblance going. So to supercharge yourself with the hits you take, go for levels of Barbarian. As long as getting punched pisses you off, you can enter a Rage, letting you resist bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, get an advantage on strength checks and saves, and deal extra damage with strength-based attacks for a minute to burn off that extra energy. You also get unarmored defense, but Barbarian style, which uses your dexterity and constitution instead of your wisdom. These don't stack, so you just have to pick one. You can also wear a shield and still get the benefits of Barbarian unarmored defense, but you can't wear a shield and get your martial arts on, so just don't wear a shield because that would be bad and it's out of character. That's even worse. 2nd level Barbarians can get Yang's patented YOLO fighting technique with reckless attack to get advantage on your attack rolls if you don't mind giving your enemies advantage to hit you. Considering you can pump out 4 attacks per round with a flurry of blows, the reward should outweigh the risk. You also get Danger Sense, giving you advantage on dexterity saving throws if you can see the source of damage. You want to hit other people with the boom. You don't want to be in the boom. 3rd level Barbarians can choose a Primal Path, and Zealot will let you boom more often thanks to Divine Fury, adding 1d6 plus half your Barbarian level to the first attack you make per round while raging. This will add 30 more booms per day if you're punching every round of rage for the maximum rage duration, which is much better than the 5 booms per day you were getting from Fangs of the Fire Snake. Of course, Yang is pretty good at punching without the booms, so no sweat if you run out. You're also a Warrior of the Gods, meaning people trying to resurrect you don't have to use material components. I can't think of a moment where you took a lethal amount of damage and lived, though maybe someone in the comments can give me a hand. 4th level Barbarians get another ability score improvement. Cap off the strength for the biggest punches you can have. Since you can only add extra rage damage to strength-based attacks, this is the better modifier than dexterity for dealing a lot of damage, even if it doesn't also help your AC like the dexterity would. 5th level Barbarians get fast movement, adding 10 to your movement speed while you're not wearing armor, which will pair well with your unarmored movement from Monk. So you have 50-foot base speed, 100 with a dash, or 150 with a double dash thanks to Step of the Wind if you really want to rocket ahead. For Monk and Barbarian abilities that don't pair well together, look at extra attack because it doesn't stack. So it's a good thing you get the extra movement, otherwise this level would be a little awkward. 6th level Zealots get Fanatical Focus, letting you reroll a failed saving throw once per rage, which is kind of like Indomitable from Fighter, but you get to use it up to 4 times per day, and it only took you 6 levels of Barbarian to get there instead of 9 from Fighter investment. Obviously, it's because it's connected to your semblance. It just sort of makes you better than the common folk. Oops, I sounded like Weiss for a second. Sorry about that. 7th level Barbarians get Feral Instinct, making you always ready for a brawl with advantage on initiative. You can also act normally in the first round, even if you're surprised if the first thing you would do is enter a rage. Would Yang burn through her resources recklessly? Yeah, I think she would. 8th level Barbarians get another ability score improvement. I think Constitution is the way to go for you, as it's going to help you shrug off hits better with unarmored defense from Barbarian, and help you deal with more hits because you have more HP. It's nice. Let's grab a few more monk levels to make sure that we're ready to punch anything. 6th level monks get key empowered strikes, making your punches magical in terms of overcoming resistances, which I think for flavor means ember for every punch. For some pushing booms, Fist of the Four Thunders is an elemental discipline that lets you spend 2 key points to force a Constitution saving throw on creatures in a 15-foot cube in front of you, dealing 2d8 thunder damage to those that fail and pushing them back 10 feet, half as much to those that succeed and they aren't pushed. If that sounds like the Thunder Wave spell, it's because it is. What a twist, right? 7th level monks get evasion, letting you take half damage from failed dex saves and no damage on successful ones. Your dex modifier isn't actually that great, but since you've got proficiency with dex saves and advantage on them thanks to your danger sense, you'll be the one sending out the explosions, not the one taking damage from them. You also get stillness of mind, letting you remove an effect of charming or frightening as an action, so no need to fear all those grim monsters. 8th level monks get another ability score improvement. Constitution would be our best friend here, more AC and HP so you can be ready whenever anybody wants to catch those hands. Both of the hands that you still have. Back over to Barbarian now. 9th level Barbarians get Brutal Critical, letting you add another damage die to your critical hits, which you should be getting a lot of with your extra attacks and Flurry of Blows and Reckless attacks. 10th level Zealots get Zealous Presence, letting you give up to 6 creatures advantage on attack rolls and saving throws for a round as a bonus action. So all of Team RWBY will be a little bit more inspired. I'm talking Weiss, Ruby, Blake, Adam, Christina, CeeLo. Those are voice judges. I messed up. You can do this once per long rest. The whole point of the team is the whole teamwork thing. 11th level Barbarians get Relentless Rage, helping you stay up and in the fight. The first time you would drop to 0 HP while you're raging, you can make a DC 10 Constitution save to stay at 1 HP instead. You can technically use this an unlimited amount of times, but the DC increases by 5 each time. So actually you can only use it 3 times because you're not proficient in Constitution saves since we didn't start off as a Barbarian, but still pretty good. But since our capstone is the 12th level of Barbarian, we'll get an ability score improvement, meaning you can possibly get 1 more use of a Relentless Rage if you cap off your Constitution score. You also get 20 extra HP because buffing your Constitution modifier bumps your HP retroactively too. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, you're great at dealing damage, with up to 4 attacks per round, extra damage from raging, reckless attacks for more crits, and magical damage whenever you need it. You're also loaded with HP, with well over 200 to keep you in the fight and helping your friends. Finally, your physical saving throws are stellar, with capped off strength and constitution modifiers and advantage on all dexterity saving throws. For weaknesses, your soft stats aren't great, especially intelligence and charisma, which could become an issue with some nasty spells. There's also the issue of your monk save, since it's tied to your wisdom modifier, so that Thunder Wave and Stunning Strike are probably not going to be doing much. Finally, your ranged options aren't great. Sure, you can throw things, but even that isn't a great option for bigger distances. Good thing you're really fast and can close the gap. Get up close and personal and blow people up with your fists. You'll honestly do fine as long as nothing takes away your arms. Damn it, I was so close to finishing the video without the spoiler. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. We make 2 videos every week. Yang won the redemption poll, but who will win this one? Vote for Bane from Batman, Bakugo from My Hero Academia, Ivy from Soul Calibur, or Auron from Final Fantasy, and sub to Tulok and Mango for more Tulok fun.